Hello folks, we have entered the interstate for a Friday drive home. Fridays are a little different, at least in my world. The roads are occupied by weekend travelers, often who are coming up the city on their way out. I happen to be headed in, so that's good, but there's a good chance that I'll need to take a different road home today. I've already seen a backup, so I'll take the 470 instead, which will leave my options open. Left a little later than normal. Too bad. This may be my last commute back from Rain Valley for a while. There may be a little more working at home in my future, perhaps. Remains to be seen. Most of my filming's been done in the morning. I'm fresh. I'm not unfresh today. I'm not fresh. I don't know. Whatever you call it. I put in a week, that's for sure. Had my performance review at work, which is largely the same as every year. A little more corporate math involved, which is got me thinking. Nevertheless, some travel planning the last few days. I was supposed to go to Florida and begin a meeting at 2 in the afternoon. Place. I won't even name the place. Whoa, did you see that guy about crash? Wow, that was a very unwise lane change. All because the commercial vehicle in front was not driving very fast. At least not fast enough for him. And this goes back to the vehicle interaction safety issues. Going around these slow vehicles causes unsafe maneuvers. That's a great example right there. Hopefully I can zoom in on it and show you all in a shorter clip. Anyways, I was supposed to go to Florida, and I could fly to a couple different cities and then drive a car about 2 hours to get there and begin at 2 o'clock on a Friday. And I'm not keen on this. So we start to plan the travel, and there's no way I can get through this meeting and get a flight home. It's just not going to work. So I'm not very happy about this, because I don't want to spend my Friday night in Florida, not at an airport, not at a beach. I just don't. I'm not in the mood. Now, you want to talk about going to Florida in January, December? I'm all about it. October? No thanks. I don't need that. Combined with the fact that I would be traveling for 4 out of 5 days that week. Not so bueno. So, after, the meeting is a negotiation, but setting the meeting was also a negotiation. I wanted to get everyone together in person. But the consequences of getting what I wanted became that I had to do it on a Friday afternoon. And that just isn't fun. Are you more likely to get what you want when you're ruining people's weekend? No, you're not. Do you want to have a jury go and deliberate at 4 o'clock before a Memorial Day weekend or something? No, you don't. So, part of the strategy, I wanted to get it in person, but I really didn't want it to be on a Friday afternoon. And basically, this was the only option because of the constraints I put on everybody. That was the only option. Not a thrilling situation. So, I was able to... So then I'm thinking, okay, let's flip the script, go back to Zoom. Well, all fine and good, except guess what? Everyone has to sign off. So now the strategy for the other parties are, do we agree to sign off on this? Do we want to let this guy have it easy? Do you want to put strain on your adversaries? Yes, you do. Do you want to make their lives difficult and create skin in the game for them? Yes, you do. They had an opportunity to leverage me, and they missed it. They could have pulled me away from my kids. They could have put the pressure on me to come home with a deal, and they didn't take it. They begged it. So, if you're my adversary, and you've got me asking to change something I already asked for, shoot, I wouldn't have let me do it. But how awkward is that meeting, though, if you're the squeaky wheel, right? I was going to be that squeaky wheel. Maybe I'm not fresh after all. So anyways, my travel has been pretty well set. I'm going to be going a few places before the end of the year. Nothing too wild, nothing too exciting. I'm sure I'll travel just enough to not have status on the airline. That's kind of my luck. Whatever gets you status on an airline, subtract 2 flights, and that's how much I'll have traveled in 2023. And I was loyal, too. Loyal, but not that busy, perhaps. I'm not seeing any discussions about the slowdown on I-49. That's the big question on a Friday. So how slow is I-49? It did not seem slow. I-70 was slow. On down where we were, past where we were. So here, up on my right, is what's called a step deck. It is a lower flatbed trailer. Most traditional flatbed trailers are up much higher than that. This one is lower, so you've got better clearance for going under bridges for taller items of cargo. I've had a lot of claims originate from people who did not adequately specify the hauling requirements for their item. And when you don't specify clearly what you need, the freight broker is not going to get you the right equipment. Because guess what? It's probably a little cheaper to get a flatbed than a step deck, because flatbeds are more common. So, you want to save a little bit of money, get a little more brokerage commission. Boy, this guy is being I've said a bad word there. Going plenty fast. Trying to pass me on the right. I'm trying to get over. I get mad at these drivers and then I see them and I'm not mad anymore. Because it's clear their behavior is an extension of life and an existence they don't want much to do with. And I'm quite thankful to be a part of it. Apart from it, I mean to say. Aggressive driving is very often a symptom of somebody having a problem inside. Very seldom, my experience, is a person driving aggressively because they're running late. When you're running late, you're focused, you're probably at some of your best behavior, driving-wise, so on. When you're stressed due to a disorganized life, a chaotic existence, excessive trauma of various types, it often makes you drive erratically. And the reason it makes you drive erratically is because you're looking for control. You're looking for an area of your life where you can actually feel like you're in charge and succeeding, because all around you it's falling apart. So what do? You start weaving through traffic, driving extra fast, because this is something you can control. You can make the car go faster. You can't make your bills get paid, but you can punch that gas pedal harder and make it harder to pay your bills by wasting gas, right? That's the traditional. The deck is certainly stacked against you, and your own behavior is not helping. But the behavior is a natural consequence of the external stimuli in your life. So in a sense, it's not your fault, but you are yet responsible. So that's about all there is to say about that. I feel bad for most aggressive drivers. They are broken people in many cases, struggling people, and we should be a little more sympathetic to them. Maybe our prosecutors can stop prosecuting traffic offenses to show solid. I'm kidding. That's pretty funny if you think about the lack of law enforcement in many instances. You know, the ever empathetic logic that leads to people getting away with crimes. Now, there is something to be said for being sensitive, but ultimately, if you're driving very fast and causing dangers, that's the other thing. Vehicle interactions work two ways. One, it's the people driving too slow, but it's also the people driving too fast. They're creating just as many interactions, if not more, by speeding. And that's not good. So if you are speeding, substantially above the speed of traffic, substantially above the speed limit for the road, you deserve to be punished and stopped because you really are creating a statistically dangerous situation for those around you. And it's not just you, it's also for those around you. It's to protect the public, not your sorry self. So, while there's sympathy, there's also accountability. And sometimes accountability is all that is going to fix these problems, because people who are acting naturally and doing what they feel, you can't just do what you feel. And regardless of what the consequences of that is for other people. Right? Well, it should be interesting. See what we're dealing with. A lot of commercial construction, which is making sense to me. We're either having a run on real estate or we're not. I suppose for this area of the country, we're just not. The mayor of Kansas City called into the radio from Germany. He's on a trade delegation sponsored by the Bear Corporation. So they get to go and talk to German businesses and then attend the Chiefs football game free of charge, sponsored by Bear. Not bad. And other German businesses. On his call in, he made a good point that we have Kansas City, pretty good occupancy rates. We have bounced back likely better than a lot of other major cities. And that's true. I've got a lot of anecdotal evidence from friends and others who pretty much agree that we are not sitting on a lot of empty commercial spaces here. And if we are sitting on empty spaces, it's not due to COVID or people scaling back commitments to real estate. It's due to simply having vacancies or failed businesses due to COVID, really. So that's a good thing. But the mayor called in to address issues with the company who left the city due to perceived harassment from homeless people and things of that sort. Property crimes against vehicles, and so on, of the employees. And I got a hot take on this that you probably don't want me calling the radio, but I got a feeling that that was not a genuine letter, and it went viral, especially in conservative circles who want to point out the horrific life in urban America and how job creators are leaving our cities, and it's the fault of taxes and all this. And I gotta tell you, I'm not buying it. Is it possible that the owner of this company or CEO of this company really just cared about his employees' cars? I don't think so. I really don't. I think this was about something else. It was about losing a lease or needing more space, or maybe the CEO lived in Kansas or somewhere else. This was closer to him. Companies really don't do things for their employees. They don't make big decisions for their employees. It's a consideration, but it's not a determinative fact. It's not an outcome shaping reason to do things. Just not mine. Now, if you're on your way out anyways, does it hurt to few comments about things. Yeah, no, not really. But to act like you're just such an employee-centric company that you wanted their cars to be secured and their catalytic converters were being stolen and you've just had enough of it, well, I'm not believing it. So we are going to be entering Cass County soon. Not already. I talked about the Mount Pleasant Township, which manages a lot of county space, roads. I'm gonna have to get over here. It's not looking great. We are moving for a Friday. I gotta get us that. So the people of Cass County, which is a county south of Jackson, where Kansas City is, but also with some Kansas City land, I think. They are very upset in Cass County about a landfill proposal. I mean, they are mad. They don't want to be the trash pile of the city. And, you know, I understand their position, but I live a few miles from a landfill, and it's really not that bad. So I see it as sort of righteous indignation, or people who think that it's a reflection of their community, or they were targeted. They're targeted because it's close, because your city needs a landfill, okay? Sorry, deal with it. So anyways, to capitalize on this, the mayor of Kansas City has offered to annex portions of my commute, including the Loch Lloyd Country Club and the associated homes, in exchange for giving away city land that might go to the landfill to the county government of the neighboring county. In other words, we'll make sure your landfill can't happen if you give us a piece of your tax base. Not that they're actually giving anything up, they're just adding the layer of the city to that, in exchange for also substantial infrastructure upgrades, possibly some tax breaks for the people in that annexed territory. I think it's kind of genius for a lot of reasons, mostly strategic. Aside from being publicity, it's also a way to blame the landfill on the wealthy residents of this country club community, which, why not deflect it to the rich people? Anyways, why not? There's that slowdown we expected. We are still over a mile from my exit. Way to slow down. You see there's an outer road on my right. I can take that road, and it seems like any day I take it, the highway is moving faster, and if I don't take it, if I take the highway, the outer road moves faster. I can't win. And those red lights on the outer road are long waits. As you can see, some of those folks won't even probably make that cycle. And I am still passing. So there's been some drama this week with the city and counties over that. The country club people have, of course, unequivocally stated that they have no interest in being annexed by Kansas City, and I think that's probably going to be the end of it. But these wheels on trucks, and I just think they're getting bigger and bigger. I don't know what they're for or why they're there, and I'm talking about passenger trucks mostly. I saw a wheel on a truck that was as white as my shoe, and I put my shoe up next to the wheel, and I said, what is the point of this? What do you need this for? This is obviously an expensive tire. It's going to cost more rubber, so forth, to even. Alright. So, you'll notice I'm behind this chassis. It's a chassis because it's not a trailer. A chassis holds a container, a trailer holds cargo, okay? There's a reason why I didn't get up next to it. These things make wide right turns. And this is a short one, not a big deal. With the long ones, you are really risking a sideswipe accident getting up next to it. If I have a chance to stay behind one on an exit, the other thing is, don't drive next to these guys. These chassis are just basically hanging around ports. I don't know who's in charge of inflating the tires, maintaining the hubs. Nobody really knows. And the odds of a blowout on one of those chassis is high, and that could hit your car. If you got your window down, it could come in and hit you. It could break your window. It could scratch your door. A lot of different. Or the driver overreacts and just plain turns into you over it. Or the trailer skips across the road and physically smashes into your vehicle and cuts a hole in the door and knocks it off the road or whatever it is. I think you get my point. My point is, don't drive next to an intermodal chassis, okay? Don't sit next to one in a turning ramp. In fact, I've even seen signs trying to control traffic, especially truck traffic on these off-ramp turns. So you can't even use the inner lane. You'll notice that truck was using the outer lane, because when you use the inner lane and try to jug handle your turn, you're just going to hit the person next to you. You can't see him. It's a blind spot. Everybody knows this, except the bonehead driver. He thinks people are going to get out of their way, or is just exhausted. So, it is 69 degrees? No way. The thermometer says 69 degrees. I don't believe it. Feels probably more like 65. But with the sun earlier at 68, it's going down already. But it is a nice day. It's going to be a nice weekend. Alright, so I will show you some of the territory that the mayor of Kansas City has agreed to offer to annex. Now I believe we are in Cass County, Missouri. That's a sharp car. you can see, we aren't too far from the city. There is a lot of woodlands around here. This is an area that was considered outskirts country. The Saddle and Sirloin Club moved out here. The soccer fields have moved out here. This is bonus land, right? Larger home properties out here, farming to some extent. But the development is here. It's reached the area. Loch Lloyd, the village that actually I talked about, the country club, they actually expanded into Kansas, which would create a very interesting thing to have a portion of their community, part of Kansas City, Missouri, and a portion of their community independently incorporated in Kansas. It's an interesting local government situation. I think it would do a lot of positive things for the real estate in the Kansas side if that were to happen. So this is the kind of road that needs repaved, right? Kansas City says, hey there, let us come pave it. All we ask is that you pay us taxes. The sales taxes on the businesses that may be here someday and all this. We won't even take the earnings of the residents here for a while. Maybe ever. Right? They're open to compromise. As you can see, this land is all vacant for the time being. But there is an entrance to Loch Lloyd up here. The new area. It's not in Kansas, but it's part of their expansion. Well, it could be in Kansas. I don't think it is yet. And that gate is coming up. And my understanding is that people are really not supposed to use the gate. This is it up here. Left, you'll see this turn off. And there's a guard shack. It's usually a manned guard shack. It's a ways down the road because nobody's supposed to be using it. They are cleaning up the road over here. You know, are we in for some changes? Maybe. Overland Park, Kansas paid for the nice part of the road right here and this bridge. Got the river here, so there's potential flooding issues, I suppose. Not much of a river, but you never know when it might be more than enough river. Well into Kansas. I don't know, that could have been the Kansas entrance. I think that's me. Commute as far as I'm concerned. I left a little bit later, but the traffic was not wild. You know, I think the fact that lake season is over, for the most part, people aren't driving south to go to lakes. We have an early morning Chiefs game on Sunday, so people are probably buckling down and preparing for that, and just keeping it chill. I like that. I like chill. In my day, it was party time. I don't know where the party people are anymore, but I don't even know if they exist. The generations, they've changed, I think, a little bit. I don't know if people party like they used to. I've heard that young people, they don't like to drink. They'd rather vape and probably watch streaming videos and keep it chill, right? If you've got legal drugs and all that, what do you need to be out boozing for? Maybe. I mean, shoot, 5 o'clock on a Friday, depending on, I guess I'd work until 5 if I was working. I certainly wouldn't be driving a car around streets like this, that's for sure. So maybe that's the good news is. I used to never go south of 75th Street. That was my rule. And even then, it was a remote outpost. To me, what I considered a remote outpost called Lou's Bar, 75th and Warnell Road. It was really further than I ever wanted to be. Brookside was also a southern border, 63rd Street. And I would go there. Yeah, even that felt kind of a stretch to where I wanted to be. My life was working on 11th Street, living on 47th Street, and yeah, that was that. I would drive in between. There really wasn't a lot in Midtown that had my attention, so 47th to 63rd. Can't forget the McDonald's on 31st or 33rd. Taco Bell was an uncomfortable drive. I didn't care to go to the Taco Bell that time. Burger King, I think, was a thing. I think there was a Burger King nearby. It's true that I had a little more patience for the idiosyncrasies of the inner city in those days. And I didn't have a lot. I have a lot more than I do now. It grates on you, it wears on you, you get frustrated. People would steal the sticker off your license plate and put it on their car, thinking they're avoiding a ticket or something. Put the windows up and I'm hot. I put the windows down, I'm kind of chilly. It's odd weather. Well, folks, I might just be done for the day. I hope you all have a wonderful week.